Hi everyone! Welcome back. It's so good to have you here. Here we are once again talking about Lego, God's story, and us. Now, if you remember back to last week, we talked about creation. We talked about how God created the universe out of nothing. Isn't that amazing? And we compared it to when we pour out a box of Lego and there's just a formless pile of Lego on the ground in front of us, and then we begin to create. And we said, I wonder if that's how it was like when God created the world. Well, at the end of last week's time, I had a building challenge for you to build some wonderful Lego creations with no instructions. And boy, did you guys do a great job. You sent me some wonderful creations and gave them some wonderful names as well. Let's say we look at some of those creations, shall we? Those were some awesome Lego creations. Great job to everyone who sent those in. Oh, they were so fun to look at. It makes me want to get my Legos out and start creating again. Now, we ended last time with God saying what about his creation? Do you remember? It was in our special verse. That's right. God said his creation was very good. And that was right after he created some of his best creations, right? People, after he created Adam and Eve, and he said, it is very good. Wow. Now, right before God said his creation was very good, he had a job for Adam and Eve. He had a job for them. And his job for them is our special verse this week. Let's take a look at what our special verse has to say.
God blessed them and said to them, Be fruitful and increase in number, fill the earth and subdue it.
Now, there's a special name for our special verse this week. Some theologians, that's a big word. That just means people who are really smart and study the Bible. Some theologians call our special verse the cultural mandate. What? Yes, the cultural mandate. It's a fancy word for the job God gave to Adam and Eve, and that he gives to us. Now, there were some other tricky things in our special verse this week, weren't there? Our special verse this week said to be fruitful. What does that mean? Do you think it means to have a lot of fruit? No, I don't think it means to have a lot of fruit like grapes and oranges. No, to be fruitful, well, it means to fill the world with people, but also to fill the world with the good things that we humans can create. Things that help others. Things that show our neighbors Jesus. And you know, there's a lot of good things that we have made over the years. Let's take a look at a few of those things right now. It's like this big structure here. Look at how big it is. This big train bridge. And you know what? This bridge was built way in the early 1900s, and trains still travel on it, taking things like grain and other materials to places around the city. Isn't that neat? There are also wonderful paintings that people can make. Check out this one that a friend of mine made. Can you see what it is? Yeah, it's a hand. And it's saying, "I love you," in sign language. Isn't that neat? You can see the brush strokes that they made there. You can see how they made it look just like a hand. Isn't that really cool? Have you ever been to a store, and when you walk up to the store, the door opens by itself? Yeah, that's called an automatic door. And someone invented that. Whenever that was, they invented that. They said, you know what, I think that if someone isn't able to open the door by themselves, maybe they have something wrong with their hands or their arms, their legs, where they have to sit down, maybe in a wheelchair, an automatic door can help them. And you know, I bet if we talk to a lot of these creators of those inventions like an automatic door or the paintings or people who make bridges today, I bet that they would say some of their first creations were with Lego. Because you know what? Lego is a great toy to build things with, but it helps stretch our imaginations and it helps improve our skills with our hands and our fingers. And as we learned last week in the history of Legos, there was somebody a long time ago named Ole Kirk Christensen who had an idea to build a toy for children. He made Legos. But whether it was Ole Kirk Christensen or the person who created automatic doors or the person who paints the painting or who makes bridges, who do you think puts that idea in their head? Who might that be? The answer is God. God puts that idea in their head. And sometimes those creators, they might not always realize that it's God putting that idea in their head. But we know that God is a God of all creation. He has no limits. And so God is a God of everything, including our minds, which come up with these amazing ideas of things to help people. And that is what our special verse means when it says to be fruitful, to create good things so that people can know who God is. And there's another fancy term that we use to describe all of this. You know what that is? It's called being co-creators with God. You remember last week how we talked about God creating the world? Well, this week when we looked at our special verse, the cultural mandate, that is God saying to his people, you are co-creators with me. I want you to be part of this creating process. I want you to create good things in this world so that people can know who I am. So that they can see that I, God, have given you wonderful brains to think. I've given you skilled hands to work on things like bridges. I've given you tools to work with so that you can paint beautiful pictures for people to enjoy and that they can imagine what it's like to be in some of those pictures. And all of this, all of creation seems to scream God's name. Isn't that amazing? There's a story in the New Testament when Jesus is going to come into Jerusalem. Do you remember that one? It's called Palm Sunday. Yeah, maybe you remember that. Now, right before Jesus comes into the city, here's what it says. Then the disciples brought the colt to Jesus. They threw their coats on the young donkey and put Jesus on it. And as he went along, people spread their coats on the road. Jesus came near the place where the road goes down to the Mount of Olives. There, a whole crowd of disciples began to praise God with joy. In loud voices, they praised him for all the miracles they had seen. They shouted, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. May there be peace and glory in the highest heaven." Now, some of the Pharisees in the crowd spoke to Jesus. "Teacher," they said, "tell your disciples to stop." "I tell you," Jesus replied, "if they keep quiet, the stones will cry out." What did Jesus mean when he says the stones will cry out? I think that's part of what we're talking about today. All of creation seems to praise God's name, just like the people on that Palm Sunday did. But it's all of creation. And if we weren't to do it, the stones would yell praise for Jesus. And so I think when we make beautiful things with our hands, with those ideas that God places in our mind, and we work with our hands that God has given us, that is God saying, "Here I am. This is me. You need to praise me. I'm the King of the world, and I bring peace and glory into the world." So, when we make beautiful things, it points to our Creator God. It praises His name. And it's our hope that people around us see that and ask us, "Whoa, this is such a beautiful thing that you've created." And we can tell them, "It is. But you know what's even more beautiful? Is the Creator of the world. It's God, and His Son Jesus has come for you." And we can share that good news with others through the things we create. And even if those things are with Lego. Now, do humans mess up some of the beautiful things we create? Yes, we do. And next week, we're going to talk about that. When humans make mistakes, when they miss the target of making beautiful things. But for this week, let's remember that fancy word. Do you remember what it was again? Cultural mandate. You've got it. Where God said to be fruitful and to increase in number and fill the earth and subdue it. Wow. Those are beautiful words. I have a building challenge for you. This week's building challenge. Do you have your Legos in front of you? Okay. This week's building challenge is to build something that you think would make the world a better place. So get out those Legos, build something you think would make the world a better place, and then I want to hear about it. So once you're done, have a big person come and help you, and they can take a picture of your creation. Then have them type out what it's all about, and then they can send it to me. And next week, we'll feature some of your creations as we talk more about Lego, God's story, and us. So until next week, have an amazing week, everybody. Let's go with this blessing.
The Lord be with you, and also with you. Hey kids! Thanks for watching the video. We hope you liked it. Click here for more videos, or subscribe here. See you next week.